This is CBC Here and Now.
Chilly day today, but tomorrow is going to be a little bit messy.
Because they're buying the best and they're willing to invest. So I think it's important for the audience to understand that Nasdaq is a lot more than just the stock market.
$1 billion deal for Verafin, a major boost for the province's tech sector.
Sold to the States, but the local company says it is staying in St. John's. Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Anthony Germain.
And I'm Carolyn Stokes. We begin tonight with yet another increase in the number of COVID-19 cases in the province.
The cluster of COVID cases in Grand Bank has grown. Dr. Janice Fitzgerald says there are now 4 connected cases in the Burin Peninsula community. Here Now's Mark Quinn has been following this story and he joins us live from our newsroom. So Mark, where do things stand right now?
So Anthony, the new case that's being reported today is a man over the age of 70. We're told he's a close contact of one of the cases that was reported yesterday, also a woman over the age of 70 who lives at the Blue Crest Cottages in Grand Bank. Now we're told this man doesn't live at the Blue Crest Cottages in Grand Bank, but he is in the Grand Bank area. So this means we now have 4 cases, a cluster of 4 cases in the Grand Bank area. The good news is there's no evidence of community spread, and here's Dr. Janice Fitzgerald.
In the last 24 hours, the situation in Grand Bank has heightened everyone's awareness and anxiety with regard to COVID-19. And I know that this is alarming for the community when situations like these arise, and I caution people not to panic or contribute to the rumor mill. We have seen recent outbreaks and community spread within the Atlantic bubble and in Nunavut, areas that have been doing remarkably well, like ourselves. There, but for the grace of the COVID gods, go us. We are not immune nor special. COVID doesn't care where you live. We must take this seriously.
So Dr. Fitzgerald is warning that what's happening on the Burin Peninsula right now could happen anywhere in Newfoundland and Labrador.
There's a tsunami just out there off our shores, and I'm telling you, it's just waiting to crash down on us. And we cannot keep it at bay with travel restrictions. We cannot keep it at bay with quarantine. It's going to take all of us doing our part to keep things safe here in this province. And we are going to see cases, and we're probably going to see clusters.
So people in Grand Bank, public health officials are there and they're doing contact tracing. We've been told there are 23 residents at the Blue Crest Cottages. They're going to be monitored very closely. And those public health officials are also speaking with people outside that Eastern Health facility. The mayor is asking people to cooperate with public health officials, and he's saying that they should follow all the public health measures that have been put in place right now.
When they have all those healthcare measures in place, well, they're in place for a reason. If you have to isolate it for 14 days, well, it doesn't mean 5 or 6 or 10, it means 14. And if it's self-isolation, well, it means what it says. You have to be alone and self-isolate. So if you have someone in the household with you and you come back and you don't adhere to the regulations, then there's consequences. And we have consequences in Grand Bank today.
And of course, social media has been abuzz with comments, and some of those comments have been pretty nasty. The mayor also addressed those.
People shouldn't look at those people as having done something crazy or wrong. Everyone makes mistakes. Everything is different. We all do things sometimes we shouldn't do. But that doesn't give people the right, in my opinion, right, to be unkind, to be insensitive with your comments, or to be be judgmental. No, those people, it's stressful enough. It's difficult enough.
So right now, the total number of cases that are active in the province is 10. 2 of those cases are people in hospital. And Dr. Janice Fitzgerald says that anyone with any sort of symptoms of COVID-19, even if they're mild symptoms, should call 811 and get tested. Carolyn?
Thanks so much, Mark. That's Here and Now's Mark Quinn reporting live. Well, big news today in the province's business community. One of the crown jewels in the tech sector, Verafin, has been sold to New York-based Nasdaq for a very big price tag, and with promises to continue growing the financial crime-fighting company in St. John's. Terry Roberts is following that story.
Deals like this don't happen very often in this province, and this one is huge. Verafin is being scooped up for 3.6 billion Canadian dollars.
It's a very, very exciting day.
Verafin co-founder Brendan Brothers is ecstatic.
Our goal, since the very early days of our business, has been to create the world's most effective crime-fighting network. And I think this really allows us to accelerate that vision.
St. John's-based Verafin has been on a roll, growing by about 30% annually in recent years. As a leading provider of anti-financial crime technology, Verafin has been on the front lines in the fight against fraud and money laundering. It boasts a client base of 2,000 banks and credit unions throughout North America. And Verafin expects to generate about $180 million in revenues next year. With growth like that, you're bound to attract attention. And this morning we learned that Nasdaq, yes, the same company that operates a stock exchange in New York, is buying Verafin. Like Verafin, Nasdaq also specializes in anti-financial crime, helping protect many of the world's largest banks. The market for what's called trade surveillance is growing rapidly as pressure grows on banks to fight financial crime. It's estimated more than $2.5 trillion is laundered every year. Nasdaq says banks spend about $6 billion on technology services every year to detect and investigate money laundering. And right now, Nasdaq and Verafin combined have about 3% of that market. The plan is to capture even more, with Nasdaq planning to market Verafin's technology to its biggest clients.
We do want to have some investments to really advance the product to make it so that it's highly relevant for the largest banks. I have to tell you, we're super excited about being able to introduce them to our clients because their solution is superb. I mean, it really is a best-in-class product.
That will mean growth for Verafin. The company has a workforce of 600 here in St. John's. That's expected to grow by a couple of hundred next year.
Our technology combined with their global market reach is going to create something really, really special here.
As for Brendan Brothers and his fellow Verafin co-founders, Jamie King and Raymond Pretty, this deal makes them super rich, but they're not going anywhere.
They'll probably have to drag us away from the business kicking and screaming. This is something that we've been tremendously proud to be able to grow here in St. John's. We're truly, truly looking forward to an exciting future here.
Verafin's headquarters will stay right here. And in order to meet the demand for that growing workforce, Nasdaq is committing to fund scholarships and support co-op programs at Memorial University. Nasdaq is pledging to invest $1 million in Memorial University's Genesis Center in order to further fuel entrepreneurial growth in this province. Meanwhile, the Nasdaq-Verafin deal is expected to close early next year. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, meanwhile, the Premier, who hopes to diversify the economy and protect it from swings in commodity prices, calls the Verafin sale fantastic news.
It's a big day for Newfoundland and Labrador. It's a big day for the technology sector, a great positive day for the whole province. So this is equivalent to first oil. This is a big news day, and people should see great hope and optimism for the future in Newfoundland and Labrador with today's announcement.
It was a chilly day today. In fact, some of the coolest temperatures we've seen since earlier this year, end of March, early April, only hovering around the 0-degree mark in St. John's, -2 in Badger. And then we do have those single-digit temperatures up through Labrador as well. -9 was the afternoon high in Lab City. Not a whole lot going on. We did see lots of flurry activity, though, however, along the west coast. Earlier today, the snow squall watch ended for Corner Brook, seeing mainly just flurries there and along the southern portion the southwest portion rather of the island. We still have those snow squall watches in effect, anticipating that these will end overnight, and that's because we're going to see a little bit of a wind shift. So right now they're onshore, and as we head through the overnight, those will shift more southwesterlies, and that should end the snow squall potential there. But I will have all the details on the forecast coming up.
Thank you, Ashley. Well, changes are coming at Metrobus in St. John's in the new year. CBC News has learned of a reduction in service due to budget cuts from the city, as well as an overall drop in ridership. The CBC's Cease Hare reports.
Activity at this bus stop in St. John's will decrease starting January 4th. That's when the so-called summer schedule kicks in. It's temporary and necessary.
CBC has obtained a letter written to staff by Metrobus management which says because of tough financial times at City Hall, its budget is being cut by $800,000 and service reductions are necessary. And while $800,000 is a lot of money, it represents only about 6% of the total grant from the city this year, $13.8 million. The letter also says fewer people are using the buses. Ridership is only about half of normal levels since full service resumed in September. And a return to summer schedule means about 1/4 of the fleet will be taken off the road, and the buses will stop running an hour earlier each day. Some are indifferent to the changes.
Don't make no difference to me because summer schedules don't have to fool around with the winter schedule at all. Then that way you will know what time the buses are coming and go.
From where you sit, not a big deal?
No.
I'm about a 3 happy with that. I'm not surprised, but I do think that a more forward-looking council would find other places to take the money from.
Baker is a public transit advocate and fears these cuts will become the new norm at City Hall and public transit as a priority will fall to the wayside.
There are a substantial number of people who do take the bus, and there is a much greater number of people who would take the bus if it was a service that they felt that they could rely on.
The adjusted schedule will mean fewer shifts for drivers, so there will be layoffs. The letter stresses this reduction is temporary and will be reevaluated in September. No one at the city, the commission, or Metrobus would do an interview. Cease here, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, we'll transfer from buses in St. John's to new community wheels in Stephenville, where seniors are soon going to have access to affordable transportation. A new municipal bus is set to begin operations in the new year. Here now's Colleen Connors has more.
It doesn't look like much now, but in January, this 12-seater bus will operate like a taxi, bringing seniors and those with disabilities around town.
I think it's a marvelous idea, something a long time coming.
Dave Rex is an avid Lions Club member who advocated for affordable senior transportation. The town applied for the $100,000 grant from the province and bought the bus. Soon, community volunteers will operate the transit system.
Well, I think there's going to be a big demand, particularly people living like myself in seniors' accommodations and people living at home that really need that little bit of help to get about.
If an individual wants to go shopping, needs a medical appointment, a dental appointment, if they have a spouse that's in a senior's home, and especially in the wintertime, Colleen, you know that if you can call this bus, make an appointment, get into a warm bus, be dropped off, picked up and brought home. And the good news is because it's affordable, it's just a toonie.
$2 covers the cost of fuel. The town is looking for volunteers from different community organizations to drive the bus and take phone bookings.
And most of the drivers and attendants, and there will always be a driver and an attendant on board, they're all going to be volunteers. And the majority of them, I understand from other communities that have it, the vast majority are seniors themselves, young seniors.
The town is working on putting together a board of those young seniors or community members to take care of things. The bus has 8 standard bus seats and space for 4 wheelchairs. Transportation is available to seniors living in Stephenville, Stephenville Crossing, St. George's, and Port-au-Port East. For now, the brand new bus will have to sit in the parking lot here of the Stephenville town office. But in the new year, it will all be decked out with decals from sponsors, and it will be on the road helping seniors Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Stephenville.
Well, back in St. John's, the Gathering Place is getting $200,000 from the province to help its guests improve literacy skills. 2,000 homeless or precariously housed people rely on the Gathering Place each week. The community group is partnering with the Murphy Center and will tailor the training to individual needs. The pilot project will help people with things like literacy, numeracy, time management, and other organizational skills. 2 learning support workers will be hired, as well as another worker to help people with personal, social, and mental health skills.
This program is supported by
Well, food banks in Newfoundland and Labrador started accepting donations of moose and caribou meat this week. Provincial rules just changed to make it possible. The province has some of the highest rates of food insecurity in the country, so this new change is expected to make a big difference. The CBC's Adam Walsh has the details.
Bill Burton Sr. and Jr. are used to hunting big game.
What do you think? He's looking good, boy. He's looking good? Yeah.
But this is the first time they're going to donate some of their moose to local food banks.
What better way to be able to, this time of the year, everything going on, to say, hey, Dad, you know, we actually provided 70 meals this year. 70 good, high-protein, clean meat to our fellow Newfoundland and Labradorians. And Dad was all for it.
This moose is already good to go for delivery. Any food bank can apply for a permit. The only rule, the meat must be processed by a licensed butcher. Debbie Wiseman is one of the advocates who pushed to allow this to happen.
I see the potential for thousands of pounds of moose meat to be donated during the hunting season. Right now, today, we are receiving hundreds of pounds just from one moose, and that's going to go to a couple of different food banks here in St. John's.
Newfoundland and Labrador has some of the highest food insecurity rates in the country. In St. John's, 1 in 6 households are affected. So what kind of a difference can this program make? Well, let's go and ask.
This has a huge impact for us. We're going to be able to give this meat to families, to single-parent families, and single-parent families face the biggest food insecurity in our population in the province. So this is significant because they're getting access to nutritional meat that they can cook in various ways. You can use it just like you would use ground beef. So you can use it in various recipes to cook meals, healthy meals for your family. Meats are very expensive, and they're the most expensive thing probably families have to buy. And lots of times it comes down to will I buy meats or will I buy something that's not as nutritional, in value?
At this city food bank, Jody Williams says it's a big day for them.
It just brings a little bit more food security because it's coming right from our own province. And from a chef's point of view, just the the nature of meat, no antibiotics, none of that crap is in there. It's nice fresh moose meat. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. Customers have been hearing about it and they've been waiting, so it's pretty amazing. Big day for us here.
This moose delivery is from Barry Fordham and his son. Fordham has spent years advocating for the rule change. He wants to see the program expand to local fish and berries.
There's so many different avenues that we can take, and right now we're looking up and there's the limit right there, because the sky is the limit.
Big game season ends in January, but the province says it intends to continue the program next year. Adam Walsh, CBC News, St. John's.
The Inuit School Board is using a new map to teach students about the history of their ancestral homeland. The illustrated map has none of the modern borders in Labrador and Quebec. It highlights significant and historic places in Inuit Amman. Jolene Sheeny painted the map. She spent 30 to 40 hours on the initial sketches alone, all while working through her first year of law school. The map is finished now, and Sheeny says lots of people seem to want one for their workplace or home.
Well, Gander International Airport has found a way to save money this winter by closing its longest runway. The authority won't clear snow from that runway and hopes to save up to $500,000. President and CEO Reg Wright says revenue is down by $5.5 million. The pandemic has gutted the travel industry. The move also means 4 seasonal workers won't be called back to work. Wright says they analyze weather patterns at the airport before deciding which runway to shut down.
People are saying, well, I knew she was going to make it. Nobody's our tough. That's what my mother-in-law said.
Talk about tough. This nurse was caring for COVID patients in Texas, then became a patient herself.
She spent months in the ICU. Now this Newfoundlander is sharing her story, and you do not want to miss it.
A beautiful but chilly evening out there right now. So flurries making their way across the Avalon. Tomorrow, it's going to be a little bit messy, but I'll break that down for you in your full forecast coming up.
Stedman Brophy of Daniels Harbor. He's a flying fisherman and so much more. The next of our archival specials, Sunday at noon and Monday at 7.
Welcome back to Here and Now. Well, now to an incredible story of survival. Melanie Carmichael contracted COVID-19 back in July. She's a nurse who worked in an intensive care unit, and she would end up fighting for her life for 108 days.
Now, she's originally from this province, but took on that fight for her life in Texas at the hospital where she worked. And at one point, she was even caring for critically ill patients herself.
Carmichael was paralyzed, intubated, and sedated for months. She had a heart attack and almost didn't make it.
So here's what happened last week when she was finally released from intensive care. Have a look.
The people that gathered to send me off to rehab, I think they call it a clap out, and you know, there were a lot of people there, and you know, they really show their love for me. Well, I was in the hospital for 108 days, and I really didn't know. I mean, you wouldn't guess you would have the strength to pull through that. So, you know, people are saying, well, you know, I knew she was going to make it. Newbies are tough. That's what my mother-in-law said. But, you know, I wouldn't be able to go through anything like it again. And I still don't have the proper movement in my feet because I have numbness, and you know, the nerves are affected. So we're working on weight-bearing exercises and stretching and, you know, exercises on my arms. It's going to take a long time, I would guess. Like when I was sick, I was intubated. I was sedated for 2 months. I don't remember a lot of it.
For a lot of days, I would go in and I would just cry, you know. And I tried to keep it together when she was, you know, off the sedation and awake, and really encourage her. But for a lot of people, it was really hard, you know. Especially there was one point where she wasn't doing well at all, and where the doctors didn't think she was going to make it. And he was frank with me and told me that, and it was a bad day, you know. But she got better, and glad to have her here.
I'm hoping it can help other people. People that don't think they should wear a mask or wash their hands or get together at Thanksgiving or Christmas. At least I hope it gives them a perspective on how sick you can get and how difficult it is to recover.
Wow. Incredible. 108 days in ICU. So those people that were applauding at the end there, those were Melanie Carmichael's colleagues. They were clapping as she was being wheeled out of the ICU unit, or out of ICU, I should say.
Yeah. And Carmichael grew up in Norris Point, and she says her main goal now is to be able to get back to the beach with her dogs.
Nice.
Yes.
Hopefully she can do that soon.
Yeah, I don't think that, not here.
No.
Beach weather is very, very far away for
Yeah.
us. But what a chilly day today.
It was, but still really nice.
Yeah, with
Lots of
sunshine.
again.
A few flurries this
Yeah.
afternoon as well, which was kind of nice. Let's take a look at those temperatures across the board. Like I said earlier, we haven't reached these temperatures, or seen these temperatures, I should say, since the end of March, early April. So 0 degrees in St. John's, and then pretty much just below zero everywhere else. Certainly up through Labrador, -9. For you, it's currently sitting at -11 in Lab City right now, and those temperatures are continuing to drop for the island as well. Corner Brook sitting at -4 right now, -5 in Lassie, and -3 in Twillingate at this hour. Bit of a wind chill. We're looking at wind chill values in the -8 to -11 range. Cooler up through Happy Valley, Goose Bay, -13, and feeling more like -18 in Lab City right now. And those wind chills are going to continue as we head through the overnight tonight. Here's a look at the flurry activity on the west coast now. Those snow squall watches have ended since I was last on, and for the Avalon rather, we're seeing some flurry activity move through. This should be the end of it as we head through the overnight tonight. As far as flurries go in the east, we might see a few more, but overall the flurry activity will be on the west coast and parts of the southern portion of the island as well as we head through the overnight. Then the next system will roll in. This is actually a warm front, and this we're going to see some snow in the early morning hours, but that will quickly change over to rain because those temperatures are going to climb through the day tomorrow. Here's where we'll be sitting overnight tonight, -3 in St. John's. Those winds will stay brisk, 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. The winds will eventually ease on the west coast. 0 degrees for Port aux Basques, and then St. Anthony, you're going to sit around -8 tonight, looking at partly cloudy skies. That's pretty much the story up across the Big Land as well. -12 in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, -13 in Lab City. Your winds won't be too bad. Out of the south, 10 to 15 kilometers per hour, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to see wind chills. So this is the wind chill values tonight, minus this midnight tonight. Or rather, as we head towards midnight tonight, we're going to see those temperatures around -22, feeling more like -22 in Lab City, -11 in Badger, and those wind chills around -9 tonight for St. John's. Now, tomorrow afternoon, we're going to see some showers or some snow to start. Then that will quickly advance further north, and then we'll see everything change over to rain into the afternoon, certainly by the lunch hour. And then as that continues to track further north, so we'll either see some showers or drizzle through the afternoon. By 4 o'clock, it looks like everybody should be seeing that, and then we'll eventually see some clearing. However, we'll see some lingering showers or drizzle for the northeast and Avalon as we head into the evening and overnight hours. And then the next one moves in. That one's going to bring some snow for Lab City and in areas in the west, and then another bit of a messy morning for portions of the island. Here's where we'll be sitting temperature-wise. So a big bump in those temperatures, 6 degrees tomorrow for St. John's. That's above seasonable, where we should be sitting for this time of year. The winds will ramp up again. We're looking at southwesterlies. You'll note that wind shift, which is why we're seeing these warmer temperatures, 40 to 60 kilometers per hour. And then we'll start as snow, like I said, into the afternoon, change over to the potential for some showers towards central, Gander 2 degrees, Twillingate 3, and then a little warmer down along the south coast, 6 degrees it looks like for you in Harbour Breton, 5 degrees for Burgeo, and then we're looking at similar temperatures along the coast. And again, you're going to see potentially in the higher elevations, this will stay as snow or mix with rain into the afternoon. And then for the northern peninsula, generally looking at the potential for some flurries. St. Anthony, you're going to be sitting around 1 degree tomorrow. Mary's Harbour, same thing, and then Cartwright around -3 tomorrow, but those winds will be brisk again, 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. Some sunshine in the mix as well for the Big Land. 2 degrees for Happy Valley, Goose Bay. It does look like it'll stay cloudy for Lab City, and you'll be sitting around -3 for your afternoon. Into Saturday, things are going to stay mild, and we're going to see a little bit of messy weather again as far as showers go. In behind that, back into some of that colder air, so the higher elevations, northern peninsula, probably going to see some showers, changing over to flurries again through the day on Saturday. And then into Sunday, big ridge of high pressure moves in, clears things out. However, it does look like we'll see some lingering showers or flurries in the east for us. So for Saturday, here's your temperatures, 7 to 8 degrees, a little cooler for Quarterbrook, around 6 degrees. And then the northern peninsula, you're tapping into some of that cooler air. But like I said, it should be showers and some sun in play as well. -2 for Happy Valley, Goose Bay, -6 in Nain with plenty of sunshine through the day. Same thing for Sunday for you. And then, like I said, some flurry activity continuing as those temperatures dip back down. We get into some of that colder air. So back down, hovering around the 0 or just below that through the afternoon. As far as the 5 days goes, looks like Tuesday we're going to get into a little bit of a warm-up, and this will bring some rain and wind with it. That's the story through central and western Newfoundland, something to keep an eye on over the next couple of days. And then for eastern Labrador, we're looking at a drop in those temperatures. And then as far as Lab West goes, a really big drop by the time Tuesday rolls around. I wanted to share this great shot with you. A beautiful day on the Sugarloaf Trail, little wind. Josephine shared that one with us. Thank you so much. If you have any weather photos, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, stroll along any beach and you'll see clues about what creatures live in shallow waters near the shores. You'll find crab shells, sea urchins, mussels, and more. But when it comes to the deepest parts of the ocean off our province, there's still a lot of mystery.
Yeah, and researchers with Fisheries and Oceans Canada, they're trying to figure out what kind of fish are living deep down in the Labrador Sea. And as the broadcast Jane 80 reports, we're not just talking about 100 or 200 meters below the surface, but down, way down deep.
A hungry skatefish skims the ocean floor looking for food. Just one of the creatures you might encounter 500 meters down in the Saglek Bank in an area known as the Hatton Basin Marine Refuge. The Marine Refuge is in the Labrador Sea, Up until recent years, a mysterious and understudied part of the Atlantic Ocean between Labrador and Greenland. Research scientists like Dave Cote are now focused on learning about what lives in this ocean habitat.
We've been out to about 3,000 meters, where we've been, that's the farthest out we've gone. And
Cameras baited with squid at depths of 1,000 meters reveal nature's drama of predator versus prey.
There's a really interesting video of a halibut coming into the frame. Tell me what happens in that video.
we have an example of a Greenland halibut that tries to eat a hagfish, and a hagfish has a natural defense response of emitting slime. And so you can see this Greenland halibut take a big bite out of a hagfish, and then all of a sudden it starts regurgitating all this slime. And so essentially it was outsmarted by the hagfish. So things like that are really interesting as an ecologist to see happening with your own eyes.
A grenadier is drawn into the camera by the bait, but when a cutthroat eel crosses its path, the grenadier prefers that as its meal and chomps down fast. Videos capture luckier fish that adapt to their surroundings and escape unscathed.
Tell me about the video where we see the redfish change color. What's happening there?
The redfish typically associate with corals, and we can see this redfish moving into the screen. It hides out next to a soft coral, and then over time we can kind of see their skin color changing, and perhaps it's a camouflage response. And then as soon as it leaves the soft coral, we can see the color change. So it goes from kind of a bright red to almost a whitish color.
Anything that you have discovered down there that's been surprising to you, maybe creatures that you hadn't thought might be living at that depth?
We're still in the early stages of analyzing all of our data to see if there's any special productivity there, but we certainly see, we found an area that a species called blue hake, which is common in the world's oceans, but nobody's really found a place where they spawn a lot. And it seems like we found a lot of egg-bearing females up in this area. So that's kind of interesting.
Cameras are just one of the tools used for this kind of deep dive into the unknown. Another more sophisticated technique is known as environmental DNA.
If you're not familiar with environmental DNA, stands for, I guess basically all the animals in the ocean are sloughing off genetic material, whether it's from their skin or from things that they discharge from their bodies. And so with a water sample or a sediment sample, we can collect these little bits of DNA that are floating around in the water and isolate parts of them that will help us discriminate what kind of animal it is. And so from a scoop of water, we can get a whole picture of the animals that live there, all the way from the phytoplankton all the way up to the marine mammals and everything in between.
After 3 years of study, this part of the Labrador Sea is far better understood. Researchers say the new knowledge will go a long way in improving fisheries science and management, and offer a clearer view of changes in the ocean brought about by humans. Plus, more captures of close encounters in the deep, deep sea. Jane 80, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, now to the sensational $3.6 billion deal involving local company Verafin. Now, it's the first time I think that we've started a story with dollar figures in the billions on Here and Now that wasn't about debt or deficits, bankruptcies, or the collapse of oil during COVID-19. Well, Nasdaq is set to buy Verafin to enhance financial security for many of its customers in banks and other financial institutions. To help understand the scope and magnitude of this deal, I'm joined now by Mark Nunnekhoven. He's a tech expert in Ottawa and Vice President of Cloud Research at Trend Micro. So Mark, 2.75 billion US, more than 3.5 billion Canadian. Why would Nasdaq be willing to spend that much coin to get Verafin?
Because they're buying the best and they're willing to invest. So I think it's important for the audience to understand that NASDAQ is a lot more than just the stock market. They have a whole suite of financial services and tools that they sell to other people in the space. And that's where this acquisition of Verafin comes in. It's an addition to their portfolio to round out an area that they had just kind of dipped their toe in the water already. And it's going to allow them to expand their offerings to other financial institutions to give them a whole package.
Now, as you know, there's some nervousness here. Oh, here we go again. Another Newfoundland company is going to get bought out and leave. That does not appear to be the case from the announcement today. There seems to be a commitment to stay here. What's your sense of the dollar figure that we're talking about? I think there's a lot of buzz today that this means future investments for the high-tech sector right here.
Yeah, and I think it's an acknowledgement as to what the team at Verafin has built over the last 17 years. And, you know, you're right. Normally when we see these announcements, you kind of scratch below the surface and you try to figure out, are they buying this for the technology or are they buying this for the people? This is one of those great examples where NASDAQ is making that investment for both. They want the people who have built this technology and they want this business. That means continuing to maintain that investment and hopefully grow that as things move forward, because they've seen what this area is capable of delivering. They've seen the talent available locally, and they just want to take advantage of that.
And it would seem also, if you're sort of looking at what NASDAQ is, I'm glad you pointed that out. I think a lot of us think NASDAQ, oh, they're the ones who keep track of how the stock market's doing. It's much bigger than that. What do you make of the fit between NASDAQ and Verafin?
I think it's a fantastic fit, mainly because what Verafin does, which is anti-money laundering technology and anti-fraud technology, is an area where NASDAQ didn't really have an offering. They have a whole bunch of financial crime tools for banks to help ferret out this type of complex crime that's happening. And Verafin offers a complementary set of tools in an area that NASDAQ was just starting to explore. So it's really this an acquisition for NASDAQ to accelerate their entry into this area of anti-money laundering and fraud detection.
A final question for you, Mark. I've looked through the announcement and I want to address critics who say the media doesn't do anything but report on stories when they're negative. I don't see anything but good news in this. Am I naive? Am I wrong?
No, I think this is one of those few and far between stories where it's all upside. NASDAQ making this purchase, it validates Verafin's efforts over the last 17 years that they have become a leader in this type of financial crime prevention and investigation. Them being acquired by NASDAQ recognizes the talent locally, and hopefully that spurs further investment in that talent pool and that growth, and tying that into programs like the scholarship program with Memorial. But furthermore, this is a huge amount of boost of jet fuel for Verafin's business. NASDAQ has the reach across the globe to help accelerate their entry into these markets that previously would have been very tricky for them because they focused on North America and they built up this phenomenal reputation. NASDAQ's just going to take that to the next level, and that's a win all around.
Listen, Mark, I'm glad that we can almost celebrate this announcement together on Here and Now tonight. Thanks a lot for your time there from the nation's capital. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back. A former leader of the Labrador Inuit has died. William Barber passed away at his home yesterday. Born in Nain, Barber grew up as a hunter and a fisherman. He went to a residential school in Northwest River and then Grenfell College in Corner Brook. The former head of the Labrador Inuit organization signed the Inuit Claims Agreement in principle and took part in talks around the impacts and benefit agreement between the LIA and the Voisey's Bay Nickel Company. The current head of the LIA, Johannes Lamp, says that agreement is a model for Indigenous partnerships across North America. He says Barber's intelligence, integrity, sense of humor, and humility earned him much respect in the community.
Former Supreme Court Justice Seamus O'Regan has also passed away. His son, federal MP Seamus O'Regan Jr., posted a tribute on social media saying his father was a giant and his hero. This afternoon, we spoke with a St. John's judge who remembers Justice O'Regan as a mentor with a sharp legal mind.
I was very saddened to hear of his passing. I first met Seamus back in 1982. I guess I was a law student at the time, and he was the senior Crown attorney in charge of the prosecutors. So Seamus was my boss. And I learned a great deal from him. He was a great lawyer and a great barrister, especially successful and effective in front of juries, jury trials. Of course, he had a full understanding of the law, as you would expect a judge. But he also understood human nature, Carolyn. And he possessed what I would describe as an uncanny insight into why people did what they did and why they acted the way they acted. It was also a basis of his notoriously good sense of humor. He made people laugh. Of course, he was appointed judge in 1984 when he took judicial robes. I was being called to the bar that same year, 1984, so I was looking for court clothes, and they were expensive. He was kind enough to give me his old barrister's robe. Throughout my career, I could always identify my robe because it had S. O'Regan embroidered on the inside. Of course, Seamus Jr., everybody knows now. I can remember Seamus Sr., Justice O'Regan, telling the story that when the kids were small and someone would call looking for Seamus, his wife would say Senior or Junior. And I guess in later years, they'd call again looking for the Honorable Seamus O'Regan, and she could still say Senior or Junior. You know, Seamus was a great lawyer. He was a good mentor and a teacher to me, and he was a fine judge. And he'll be sadly missed, but fondly remembered.
Nicely put.
Yes, absolutely. And the Premier expressed his condolences to the O'Regan family today and lowered the flags at Confederation Building to half-mast in his honor. Well, 5 years ago today, the province lost the man of 1,000 songs. Ron Hynes was 64 years old. He died following a battle with cancer and an even longer battle with addiction.
Yeah, and that evening 5 years ago, Here and Now dedicated our entire show to honoring Ron Hynes' memory. As a singer-songwriter, he played a role in the careers of countless musicians from the province, and many of them were very eager to share their stories with us.
Yeah, we dipped into the Here and Now archives to bring you this look back.
Who can forget that last concert before Ron Hynes went into treatment for throat cancer 3 years ago? He'd already come to the point where he hated the song that first made him famous, but not That Night.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi, Ron. 1 year later, his cancer in remission, he was back, humbled and somehow confirmed by his brush with death.
I think that we're all here for a purpose, and each one of us is here for an individual purpose. And me, I'm here to write the best songs that I can, so I get out of bed and I try and do that every day.
For Ron, life was a song. He was always singing.
Sonny lives on a farm. From instant fame as the author of Sonny's Dream to the wild days of the wonderful grand band, several bids to conquer North America, including Nashville, thousands of nights in bars and clubs, Hynes made his biggest mark when he put ambitions of international fame aside and wrote songs about the place that had his heart and his attention.
He lived on stage. He was not really comfortable if he wasn't on stage.
I would say, you know, he single-handedly, he was the one that helped me the most with my career.
He came up to me after I played a show to give me a compliment on my songs, and he just said something to the effect of, you sing lovely, and your singing's not too quiet, the band's the problem, and they just need to turn down their damn amps.
He's a fine singer and an incredible songwriter. Please welcome Mr. Ron Hynes.
The phrase "man of 1,000 songs" comes from one of his own songs. His mood shifts earned him the nickname Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hynes. His wit, charm and storytelling were legendary.
I can be anywhere in the world and it'll be a Ron Hynes lyric, and it just sums up the emotion and the moment.
God bless.
A damning report released today says the RCMP tolerates misogynistic, racist, and homophobic attitudes. CBC's Ashley Burke has the details.
In public, she protected the Prime Minister of the day, but in private, Linda Gillis-Davidson said she was tormented for years by her male co-workers.
The sexual assaults, the inadvertent tearing my top open and reaching in and grasping me by my breast, things like that. There's so many. You could go on and on and on.
She retired in 2012 after almost a 30-year career filled with moments of glee but also tears, demeaning comments, unwanted grabbing, kissing, and crude jokes.
They had actually taken tampons and dipped them in ketchup and hung them from the coat hangers.
She was one of the lead plaintiffs in a class action lawsuit at the center of today's new report that she says couldn't be more accurate. It's filled with hundreds of other women's haunting accounts. Former Supreme Court Justice Michelle Bastarache said today, "What I learned led me to conclude that a toxic culture prevails in the RCMP. This culture encourages or at least tolerates misogynistic, racist, and homophobic attitudes among many members of the RCMP. The problem is systemic in nature and cannot be corrected solely by punishing a few bad apples."
If an organization cannot keep its own members safe from harassment and discrimination, how can Canadians have confidence in them to keep them safe as they enforce the law?
When Trudeau hired RCMP Commissioner Brenda Lucki, her mandate was to change the culture of harassment. It's something Lucki says she's experienced herself.
It's touched me very personally, and actually today has been a very emotional day. But this is exactly why I took on this job. It's really just deepening my resolve to do better, and it's putting fuel in my fire.
But Lucki wouldn't comment specifically on the report's key recommendation, an independent review into the RCMP's future, a move Davidson says the RCMP needs to consider.
If it brings change, bring it on.
Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Well, tomorrow's going to be a little bit messy through the first half of the day anyway, down along the southern portion and southwestern portion of the island. Temperatures will climb. Things will change over from snow to rain into the early afternoon and then continue to do so as we head into the early evening hours for the rest of the island. You'll note those temperatures will warm up quite significantly, sitting around 6 degrees by the evening hours for St. John's. And then in behind that, clearing skies. However, another round of some messy weather will move into the first half of Saturday. So we're looking at temperatures climbing quite nicely on Saturday. Again, 6 to 8 degrees across the board with the potential for some showers. Also a few peaks of sun in the mix, and then flurries the story up through Labrador as we head through the day on Saturday into Sunday. Temperatures drop back down. Still looking a little bit unsettled, but there will be plenty of sunshine on tap for most of us.
Nice, not too bad.
Yeah, it's November. It's Friday tomorrow.
Weekend. It
Friday.
Is already.
It's already here. Wow.
Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Have a great night.
Good night.